Rising from the ashes, the sky above New Shanghai burned for the third consecutive day. Black smoke twisted into the atmosphere where the remnants of humanity's orbital defenses still glowed like dying embers. Commander Elena Reyes stood on the rooftop of what remained of the United Earth Defense Force headquarters, her eyes fixed on the horizon, where alien dropships continued to descend through the atmosphere. 6 months ago, the Ketvari had appeared without warning. Their massive carrier ships had materialized at the edge of the solar system, bypassing all early detection systems. By the time Earth's unified defense forces mobilize, the aliens had already established beachheads on Mars and Europa. Commander, Major Takahashi approached, his uniform torn and stained with the strange purple fluid that passed for Ketvari blood. The Council is assembling in Bunker Epsilon. They're requesting your presence. Elena nodded without turning. How many ships did we lose in the orbital defense grid? All of them, ma'am. The Santiago was the last to go down, about 4 hours ago. She finally faced her second-in-command, her expression carved from stone. And our ground forces, holding in North America and parts of Eurasia. Australia is completely dark. Africa has formed independent resistance cells, but we've lost contact with most of them. Humanity had been woefully unprepared. Their most advanced spacecraft had been limited to the solar system, with only unmanned probes venturing further. The Ketvari, by contrast, commanded technology that made interstellar travel as simple as crossing a street. In the underground complex that served as humanity's last functioning command center, the remaining world leaders had gathered around a holographic display showing the current state of the invasion. The blue dots representing human strongholds were vastly outnumbered by the red markers of alien occupation. We can't hold them conventionally, President Alvarez of the North American Alliance stated flatly. Our weapons barely penetrate their armor, and their ships are beyond our reach. Then we don't fight conventionally, Elena said as she entered, drawing all eyes to her. At 42, she had become humanity's most decorated military leader, though she had never aspired to such prominence. Her rise had been meteoric after the Perth incident 3 years ago, when she'd successfully contained what everyone had initially believed to be humanity's first alien contact, a misunderstanding that now seemed almost quaint. Commander Reyes, Premier Chen of the Asian Confederation acknowledged. I presume you have a strategy to propose. Elena approached the holographic display and expanded a section showing a Ketvari carrier that had crashed in the Atacama Desert. 2 weeks ago, we salvaged technology from this downed vessel. Dr. Isamu and his team have been reverse engineering it since. She gestured, and the hologram shifted to show schematics of alien propulsion systems, weapons arrays, and something labeled Dimensional Fold Generator. The Ketvari don't traverse space as we understand it, Elena continued. They fold it, creating shortcuts through what Dr. Isamu calls subspace manifolds. More importantly, we've discovered why their technology is so advanced compared to ours. Dr. Harriet Isamu stepped forward, her dark complexion contrasting with her white lab coat. The Ketvari technology is incredible, but it's also incredibly inefficient, she explained. They've mastered interstellar travel, yes, but their approach is inelegant. They'd brute force their way through dimensional barriers using massive amounts of energy. How does this help us? Asked General Okafor of the African Alliance. Elena's lips curled into a grim smile. Because we can do better. Human physicists have theorized about dimensional mechanics for centuries. We never had the means to implement these theories, but with the salvaged Ketvari tech as a foundation, we can create more efficient systems, Dr. Isamu finished. Weapons that require a fraction of the energy to achieve the same results. Propulsion systems that can outmaneuver their ships. Shields that operate on principles they've never considered. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. How long? Premier Chen finally asked. 8 months to prototype. 12 for a small fleet, Elena answered. We don't have 8 months, President Alvarez objected. At current rates of advance, The Ketvari will have full planetary control in less than 3. Alina's expression hardened. Then we changed the timeline. I need every engineer, physicist, and mathematician still alive. I need unlimited resources and absolute secrecy. She paused, looking at each leader in turn. And I need you all to hold the line, whatever the cost, while we build our response. That meeting marked the birth of what would later be called the Phoenix Initiative. Hidden deep beneath the Antarctic ice shelf, protected by the planet's most powerful electromagnetic dampening field, humanity began constructing its Armada. Dr. Isamu led teams working in shifts around the clock, refining alien technology and merging it with human innovation. The first breakthrough came when they developed the quantum displacement drive, a propulsion system that didn't just fold space, but temporarily phased ships into an adjacent dimension where distance was compressed. The second breakthrough was even more significant. Adaptive weaponry that could analyze enemy shield frequencies in real time and modulate energy outputs to maximum effect. What the Ketvari achieved through overwhelming power, humans accomplished through precision and adaptation. 4 months into the initiative, with the Ketvari now controlling nearly 70% of Earth's surface, the first prototype vessel was ready for testing. Alina stood in the massive underground hangar, staring up at the ship designated Phoenix 1. Unlike the crystalline elegance of Ketvari vessels, human ships embraced a brutalist aesthetic, angular, reinforced, and distinctly terrestrial despite their advanced capabilities. She doesn't look like much, noted Captain Sophia Diaz, the pilot assigned to the prototype. She doesn't need to look impressive, Alina replied. She just needs to fight like hell. The test flight exceeded all expectations. The quantum displacement drive performed 300% more efficiently than projected, and the adaptive weapons systems demonstrated the ability to penetrate Ketvari shields with minimal energy expenditure. 2 more months passed. The resistance on the surface was faltering, with the last major human strongholds in the Rocky Mountains and Central Asia on the verge of collapse. But beneath the ice, humanity's fleet grew. 20 ships had been completed, with another 15 in final assembly. Then came the day that would later be remembered as First Contact Prime. A massive Ketvari vessel, unlike any seen before, entered orbit and broadcast a message in perfect English. People of Earth, I am Supreme Commander Threlvox of the Galactic Hegemony. The Ketvari are merely our forward scouts, tasked with assessing your world's suitability for integration. Your resistance has been noted and categorized as unusually persistent for a pre-fold civilization. We offer you one opportunity for surrender before the arrival of the main hegemony fleet. You have 48 Earth hours to comply. The message continued with detailed surrender protocols, but Alina had already stopped listening. She immediately called an emergency meeting with the surviving Earth leadership. This changes everything, she stated once they had assembled. The Ketvari aren't the Empire, they're just the advance force. And if the hegemony is coming in force, we're doomed. President Alvarez finished, his face ashen. No, Alina countered. We're presented with an opportunity. Our fleet isn't ready for a prolonged campaign, but it's perfect for a surgical strike. If this Supreme Commander represents their leadership, understanding dawned on the faces around her. You want to decapitate their command structure, General Okafor said. Alina nodded. Precisely, and in doing so, demonstrate that humanity isn't to be trifled with. The plan was audacious to the point of insanity. Phoenix 1 through Phoenix 5, the most advanced vessels in the fleet, would execute a synchronized quantum jump directly into the hegemony command ship's defensive perimeter. Before the alien vessel could adapt, the human ships would deploy their most powerful weapons, devices that created localized singularities, tearing apart matter at the subatomic level. As the countdown to the hegemony's deadline approached, Alina addressed the crews of all 20 completed vessels from the bridge of Phoenix 1. Today, we do not merely fight for our survival, she said, her voice carrying to every ship in the hidden fleet. We fight to announce humanity's place among the stars. The Ketvari and their hegemony believe they are the apex predators of the galaxy. Today, we will show them they are mistaken." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the bridge crew. "They expect us to surrender. They expect subjugation. What they will receive instead is the full measure of human defiance. Prepare for quantum displacement on my mark." The fleet commanders acknowledged their orders, faces set with grim determination. Displacement in 3, 2, 1, mark. The Antarctic ice shelf briefly shimmered as 20 warships phased partially out of normal spacetime, disappearing from Earth to materialize amid the stars. Humanity's first true step into the cosmos, not as explorers, but as warriors. "The stars shall tremble." Supreme Commander Threlvox stood on the command deck of the Hegemony flagship Indomitable Decree, watching with mild interest as the countdown to the primitive species surrender deadline approached. The massive viewscreen displayed a real-time image of the besieged planet, clouds of smoke visible even from orbit. "Another unremarkable acquisition," he remarked to his executive officer, "though their resistance has been somewhat noteworthy. Perhaps some specimens will be suitable for the warrior castes." "Supreme Commander," a sensor operator interrupted, her voice rising with alarm. "Dimensional distortion detected." Threlvox turned, mandibles clicking with irritation. "The primitives have no fold capability. Check your instruments." His words died as 20 vessels materialized in perfect formation around the Indomitable Decree, bypassing all outer defenses. The ships were unlike anything in the Hegemony database, harsh, angular constructions that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Impossible," the executive officer whispered. On the bridge of Phoenix 1, Alina gave the order without hesitation. "All ships deploy singularity warheads. Target their propulsion and weapons systems." The human vessels released their payload simultaneously, not conventional explosives, but devices that momentarily ripped open the fabric of spacetime. The Hegemony flagship's shields, designed to repel energy and matter, offered no protection against distortions in reality itself. The effect was catastrophic. Massive sections of the alien vessel imploded, collapsing into infinitesimal points before the singularities themselves winked out of existence. The Indomitable Decree listed to port, emergency force fields activating to prevent atmospheric decompression throughout the ship. "Hegemony vessel," Alina broadcast on all frequencies. "This is Commander Alina Reyes of Earth. Your ship is crippled. Your defenses have failed. Surrender immediately." For several tense moments, there was no response. Then the view screen flickered to life, revealing Threlvox's face, an insectoid visage with compound eyes and chitinous plates. "This is unprecedented," the alien commander stated. "No species has ever developed quantum singularity weapons before achieving standard full technology. Your development path is aberrant." "Humanity doesn't follow conventional paths," Alina replied. "Now about that surrender." The Hegemony commander's mandibles twitched. "I am authorized to negotiate terms." What followed was beyond anything humanity had dared hope for. The Hegemony, it turned out, was a collective of 17 spacefaring species that had dominated the galactic arm for millennia. New civilizations were routinely subjugated and integrated, their resources harvested, their populations classified according to usefulness. But the Hegemony had never encountered a species that skipped crucial technological development stages. Human scientists had taken Ketperi technology and reimagined it, approaching problems from angles the aliens had never considered. "Your weapons should not function," a Hegemony engineer insisted during the subsequent negotiations. "You bypass 17 distinct theoretical limitations." "We weren't aware of those limitations," Dr. Isamu replied simply. "So we didn't design with them in mind." News of the human victory spread rapidly through Hegemony communication channels. The Ketperi forces on Earth, suddenly cut off from command, found themselves besieged by a resurgent human resistance armed with adapted alien technology. But the true test came 3 weeks later, when the actual Hegemony battle fleet arrived. 200 vessels of varying classes, arrayed in the disciplined formation that had conquered countless worlds. They still outnumber us 10-1. Major Takahashi observed as the human fleet, now 35 ships strong, prepared to meet them. Elena nodded. Yes, but they're fighting according to the rulebook. We're about to rewrite it. The Battle of Earth's Orbit, as it would later be known, lasted less than 6 hours. The human fleet utilized the quantum displacement drive in ways the hegemony had never imagined possible, phasing in and out of normal spacetime, appearing inside enemy formations, deploying weapons that seemed to violate the laws of physics, then vanishing before retaliation was possible. They're not just jumping from point A to point B. A hegemony tactician reported in growing alarm. They're existing in quantum superposition, occupying multiple locations simultaneously before resolving to their final position. The human advancement that truly turned the tide, however, was the deployment of what became known as the Void Hammer, a weapon that temporarily suspended the electromagnetic force within a targeted area. Molecular bonds simply ceased to exist for precious seconds, causing hegemony ships to literally disintegrate before reassembling in chaotic, non-functional configurations. By the battle's end, 97 hegemony vessels had been destroyed or disabled. The rest retreated in disarray, jumping to fold space in patterns that suggested panic rather than coordinated withdrawal. Elena stood on the bridge of Phoenix 1, surveying the debris field that now orbited Earth, the remnants of humanity's first interstellar victory. Pursue them, she ordered. I want to know where they're going. The human fleet followed the hegemony retreat, tracking them to the Proxima Centauri system, Earth's stellar neighbor and, apparently, a major hegemony staging area. There they discovered an even larger force. The combined fleets of 3 hegemony member species gathered in defensive formation. They're expecting us, Captain Diaz observed. Good, Elena replied. Send the message. The transmission was broadcast across all hegemony frequencies and translated into 17 distinct alien languages. This is Commander Elena Reyes of Earth. You have attacked our world, killed our people, and threatened our existence. In response, we have destroyed your invasion force and crippled your fleet. We now offer you the same choice you presented to us: surrender or face extinction. You have 1 hour to comply. The response came not from military channels, but from the Hegemony Council itself, the governing body representing the 17 member species. The hegemony has stood for 10,000 years, the Council spokesperson, a vaguely cephalopodic being, stated. No single species has ever challenged our dominion. Your demand is unprecedented. Humanity specializes in the unprecedented. Elena answered. Your decision. What followed would reshape galactic politics forever. The Trelkori Empire, oldest and proudest of the hegemony members, was the first to break ranks. Their high command transmitted directly to the human fleet. The Trelkori recognized the emergence of a superior force. We withdraw from the hegemony collective and recognize humanity's territorial sovereignty. We seek terms for peaceful coexistence. Within days, 6 more empires had followed suit, calculating that alignment with the emerging human power was preferable to opposition. The hegemony, a construct that had dominated galactic affairs for millennia, began to fracture along ancient fault lines of species rivalry and historical grievance. 1 month after the Battle of Earth's Orbit, Elena stood before the newly formed United Earth Council, the planet behind her still bearing the scars of invasion, but firmly back under human control. The Void Hammer technology has been recognized across the galaxy as a definitive change in the balance of power, she reported. 11 former hegemony members have now signed non-aggression pacts with Earth. 3 others are seeking full alliances. The Ketvari have withdrawn to their home systems and closed their borders. And the remaining hegemony loyalists? Asked Premier Chen. Isolated and increasingly marginalized, Elena answered. Their economic systems are collapsing as trade routes shift to accommodate the new reality. President Alvarez leaned forward. So we've won. Elena's expression remained measured. We've survived. We've claimed our place. But our work is just beginning. In the year that followed, humanity established itself not simply as a military power, but as a diplomatic one. The former hegemony species discovered that humans excelled not only at warfare, but at negotiation, cultural exchange, and technological innovation. The Phoenix ships, once built for war, became the backbone of a new interstellar initiative. Human embassies appeared on dozens of worlds, human traders established new economic patterns, and human scientists collaborated with alien counterparts to solve problems neither could address alone. 5 years after the Ketvari first appeared in Earth's skies, Commander Elena Reyes, now Admiral Reyes, Supreme Commander of the United Earth Fleet, stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed orbital station Unity, watching vessels from 20 different species dock and depart. "Did you ever imagine this outcome?" Dr. Isamu asked, joining her at the viewport. Elena shook her head. "I just wanted humanity to survive. Everything beyond that has been unexpected." "The Akkadian ambassador told me something interesting yesterday," Isamu said. "Apparently, there's a phrase spreading through the former hegemony worlds. As adaptable as a human. It's becoming a compliment." Elena smiled slightly. "They haven't seen anything yet. We're just getting started." Below them, Earth continued its rotation, cloud patterns obscuring the diminishing scars of the invasion. Above them stretched the stars, no longer distant, unreachable points of light, but destinations, neighbors, and partners in humanity's unexpected ascension. The day humanity's Armada entered the stars, every empire had yielded, not merely to superior firepower, but to the dawning realization that the galaxy's newest spacefaring species was unlike any that had come before, and that the cosmic order would never be the same again.